McLaren just tossed us the keys to its newest convertible, the 720S Spider. Now this car costs over $300,000, it weighs about 3,000 pounds, and it makes more than 700 horsepower. Now there's already a lot to talk about just with those statistics, but this is also one of the first times I've been behind the wheel of a brand new McLaren. So let's get reacquainted with what this new supercar company has in store for us. And so yes, this car has those funky dihedral doors, and this is just what you expect for a car that costs this much money. Some real billionaire 3-comma doors. That's just what we get here. But more than that, this car also has a funky roof. Yes, it's a power retractable hardtop that does the deed in about 11 seconds. But it also has a very fancy electrochromatic function, which can tint the roof between 35 and 90% at the press of a button. That's pretty funky stuff, and that's what you get in a car that's this expensive and this special. But as soon as you get yourself planted here in the seats, you have to kind of reacclimatize yourself to this sort of driving experience. You see, everything isn't quite where you think it should be. Now, it's not as crazy as a Lamborghini, but it is kind of weird to adjust your mirrors from underneath the steering wheel, isn't it? But while you're poking around and getting comfortable, you realize that this car has some really nice details, and that's something that McLaren does so well. All of the columns and stalks in this vehicle are made from one piece, and it feels so special. Even the paddle shifters feel really unique because they're on one rocking, moving part, so you can always feel it on the other side when you change gears with the paddle shifters. The only thing that I find kind of curious about this car is how, a lot of the buttons and presses that you have to make end up being much harder than you have to. I thought I was doing something wrong. I'm just poking at it and nothing's happening. But you really have to give the vehicle a firm poke every time you want to do something. And that includes the ignition, because you have to press your foot really hard on the brakes in order to get it to turn on. And the vehicle just has this really unnatural braking feel. You really have to put a lot of weight before you start slowing down. And that's kind of weird in a car that makes as much power as this one does. You see, behind me is a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 that makes over 700 horsepower and about 570 pound-feet of torque. It's incredibly fast. It does 0 to highway speeds in under 3 seconds. In fact, it'll go to 124 miles per hour in under 8 seconds. That's pretty insane, no matter who you ask. It'll do the quarter mile in less than 10.5 seconds. Simply put, no matter when you need power or speed, this car will deliver it. The top speed is 212 miles per hour, and if you drop the roof like we have it here, you can get a top speed of 202. Not so much of a penalty. And paired to that is a fantastic 7-speed transmission that does a great job in both automatic and manual mode. The steering wheel fizzles in your hand constantly, telling you how much traction you have at any given opportunity. And that's such a departure from other cars on the road. Now, yes, I mentioned the brakes. They work, but they require a little extra push to get done. But the real trick of this vehicle is the suspension. You see, no matter what mode you put it in, whether it's the comfort setting or the track setting, it never feels obnoxiously stiff or really numb. The car feels so good at communicating just how much traction and how responsive this car really is. And trust me, it's one of the most engaging vehicles you can ever experience. But back to talking about this Spider. When the roof is down, you can actually hear me pretty well. I don't have to yell too loud. And McLaren has done a good job of making the car very easy to see out of, something that some of the competitors, the other supercars, don't do so well. In fact, they had to adjust some of the body moldings and this carbon fiber monocoque in order to fit this Spider roof mechanism. And they've managed to do it very well. There's almost no downside to having this vehicle as a Spider. It's a tiny bit heavier. It's about 50 kilograms heavier, which translates to about 100 and something pounds, which is a very small hit indeed. If there are downsides to this car, I have to say it doesn't sound particularly special. It's good, and it's definitely better than the last McLaren I've driven, which was the 12C, which didn't sound so special at all. I have to admit, this 720 really surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be just so capable in many ways. It's hard to say no when McLaren invites you to drive its newest convertible. But this car was a load of fun, and it helped me realize what McLaren has in store for the next generation of vehicles.